Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we've got our offensive UDFA review. We're looking at the Giants' three offensive undrafted free agents of quarterback Tommy DeVito, wide receiver Bryce Ford-Wheaton, and tight end Ryan Jones. A few other things we'll clean up at the beginning, talking about Andrew Thomas and some hirings and firings in the front office. Justin, come down from the draft. How are you?
I'm good, Bobby Skinner. Great to be back in New Jersey. I'm sure it's great for you to be back in the great state of Florida.
I came back to a mess. There was like a tornado here.
Oh, no.
And my AC's not working. My front door is messed up. It was pretty rough.
See what happens when you leave?
I know. Everything goes to crap. This state needs me.
But this episode's a really fun episode. This episode's a really important episode because when that Tommy DeVito to Bryce Ford-Wheaton fourth quarter touchdown comes in a preseason game to win a game, you're going to know who those guys are, and you're going to know why you should be excited about that.
And Bryce Ford-Wheaton might be the most excited the fan base has been about a UDFA since when, right? Like, to have that size, that speed, that type of highlight tape. Like, since we've been doing this, I do not think there has been a UDFA that we've talked about that this has been this hyped up. The only one that I could think that could be exciting him was
Ohio
Eric Dungy.
State wide receiver. There was an Ohio State wide receiver.
Austin Mack and Benjamin Victor, to me, they don't even compare to the excitement about BFW. And then the only one I might have been Eric Dungy out of Syracuse because I was convinced he could find himself like a Taysom Hill role in the NFL. And he was just a fun player. But we're talking about another former Syracuse QB today. So really excited to get into these three guys, and then we will hit defensive guys for the Monday pod.
Yes, so let's do it, Bobby Skinner.
All right, first, this episode was brought to you by some special people. We got Daniel Quesada. It's like a mix of a quesadilla and a tortada or a tostada. I don't know if I love tostadas, but my friend, his wife, makes the best tostadas in the world.
I've never even heard of that word. I thought it was like a Rickyism.
Uncultured. Noah Friedman. He's a free man. Luke Roberts. That's very close to my fake ID name in high school, which was Jake Roberts. Chris Kennedy. He's JFK's grandson.
Actually running for office right now.
And then just Dr. Strange Pork. Strange meat, pork, biblical. Justin, who are these people?
These wonderful people went to patreon.com/talkinggiants. $2 a month. Well, there's some other tiers you want to check out. Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers in the mail.
I've got catching up to do, so if you haven't gotten yours, we've been kind of in a whirlwind. I'm catching up this week on getting envelopes out.
You get to hang out with us while we record the shows, and there's some shirt raffles that we do a couple times a month, too. Thanks for our patrons.
I'm going to post a shirt raffle as soon as we end this podcast, because I need to do one from last Friday. All right, Justin, before we get into these offensive UDFAs, there is some news we got to clean up with the Giants. First, and again, we're not going to give a ton of info on this, but the Giants did get rid of two people in their front office. Pro personnel scout Stephen Price, who had been around, he's been in the league for about 18 years with other teams, but been with the Giants the last 5 years, is gone. And then their West Coast scout DJ Boyster, he's also gone. Now, the DJ Boyster, again, it's from the outside looking in, we don't know how good or bad these guys are at their jobs. But again, DJ Boyster is someone who's been with the team for a little while, and his father was with the team for a long time.
Oh.
So it reeks of Nepo baby, and obviously they removed them for a reason. So again, I'm not celebrating anyone losing their jobs, but I am celebrating Joe Schoen getting guys that he doesn't want there out and getting guys that he does want, which we will see who gets added in.
Yeah, for sure. I know they made some hires last offseason. I still feel like there's part of me that feels like they've let way more people go than they've kind of brought in. I don't know how much everything is reported, and this is something that is kind of like an underreported and even underanalyzed element to NFL front offices, right? We don't know a lot about these people. We don't know fully what they do.
They still don't have a director of college scouting. I mean, they obviously have all their scouts, but when they fired Chris Pettit, they're kind of doing it, like they're having like Dennis Hickey for that job. So they hired about 5 or 6 people last year outside of like Brandon Brown. So there's that. But they did promote some people within. Marcus Cooper, who spent the last 5 years as a local scout, most recently for the Southeast, which is the most important area to scout in the NFL, the Southeast. He's a national scout. He was actually with the Bills in 2017 for a few years. Area scout. Blaze Bell was promoted to an area scout.
That's a great name.
the last 3 years he was. Do you know what Blesto like combine is? It's basically like it's like those guys are getting ready for not this upcoming year's draft, but the year after that, and putting together numbers and like a database for them, which is pretty interesting. Marquise Pendleton, who was a Northeast area scout last year, he got promoted to pro scout. And he was also a Blesto scout for 4 years. And then the Blesto combine scout now is Justin Marcus, who was, like a intern, not an intern, but in a lower role the previous year. So again, we're not going to add too much of that, but I just wanted to put that news out there that their Giants have made some firings and upgrades, or firings and promotions in their personnel department, and then we should expect to hear some new names from outside hires in the next week or so.
Congrats to the people that got promotions. Not congratulations to the people that got fired.
Yeah, not congratulations to Stephen Price and DJ Boyster. Also, the other news before we get into these UDFAs, Andrew Thomas, his 5th-year option was picked up. Congratulations to Andrew. Now, I will say, I want his contract done before the season starts, because the price only goes up the longer you wait. And left tackle is not going to be a position where the market fluctuates, right? Like, we're seeing a boom in defensive tackle market right now. That might go down a couple years from now. Tight end is kind of down right now. Left tackle and quarterback, that market is never going down. So with Andrew Thomas, I would like to see that deal get done before week 1 starts.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there are certain moves that the Giants need to make to get themselves in a good cap situation to get through the regular season. And I'm confident that they can do that. And the thing that I want to avoid is a Saquon Barkley extension. Dexter Lawrence is going to get done. I'm kind of confident in that. So if it takes an Andrew Thomas extension, which should happen anyway, and I think it will only go up, like you said, for Andrew Thomas, get it done now. Backload everything. I don't give an F. Backload everything so you can get through this year. If I would love to keep Saquon at that tag, that what he's on right now.
So an Andrew Thomas contract probably won't affect this year's cap space because he's playing on that 4th year, which is like the cheapest of all the years. A Dexter Lawrence contract is what could free up the Giants to be able to pay their free agent or draft class, which they really don't. They need barely anything to pay their maybe like an extra $1 million because of the top 51 rule with the draft class, which was a point a lot of people kept on making about, like, well, they couldn't sign 10 players for the rookie class. Yeah, they could. It doesn't make any difference. It's the first 3 days of picks that impact, and they have those. In fact, moving up from 89 to 73 actually added a little more to that, and then 25 to 24, but that's minimal. So Dexter Lawrence's contract is really the one that they can do that they want to get done long term that can free up for this year. Really, the only other thing would be restructuring or adding a void year to restructuring someone else's contract or adding a void year to Leonard Williams. Yeah. So getting Dexter Lawrence's deal would be the ideal way to do that. So you don't have to add more void years onto Leonard Williams' contract. Then you get the Dexter Lawrence contract done, and then you have enough money to pay your draft class and have about $5-6 million to play with to get through the season.
Yeah, they also could release Darnay too, which is $2 million, but I don't think that's worth it. It's like the same thing as releasing Slayton as last year, where it may not even be worth it.
Here's where different is where last year's Slayton. It was crazy that he was ever being thought about being released with the state of the roster. Darnay, I could see it because Darnay doesn't really fit this scheme. You just drafted Deonte Banks. You could pick Cordell Flott and Aaron Robinson both back on the inside, and then Darnay could be your third one. So you take it all the way through camp with Darnay, and if you get through camp with those guys healthy, then I could definitely see Darnay being a cap casualty.
Yeah, I guess I'd agree with you if we get to a point at the end of camp where Robinson's recovered from the injury, Flott's at a point where he's healthy and he's looking good too. So that's where maybe. But I think keeping as many depth guys as we can is a good thing, especially in corners, because we know how many corners you just go through an NFL season. So happy for Andrew Thomas, though. Moral of the story.
Quick note: a lot of fifth-year options weren't picked up from that class, which was the draft. That 2020 draft, though, that first round was loaded with talent. Despite the fact that more than half of them didn't get a fifth-year option, You had Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, who you can argue are top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Andrew Thomas, Tristan Wirfs, who are all pro tackles, literally. Tua, who's like Tua being the 3rd best QB in the class is a nice win for that class.
Yeah.
Derek Brown, who's probably the least of these. Jedrick Wills didn't live up to the hype of what from his rookie season, but has been an okay left tackle. AJ Terrell, who's an awesome corner. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk. Like, those are the guys, and then Jerry Jeudy in there too. Like, if Jerry Jeudy is the 4th best wide receiver, you're looking at pretty good. And Henry Ruggs was in there too, and obviously that's for different cases the reason why he didn't get his. Anyways, he was cut.
Yeah, good observation.
But that 2020 first round was loaded with talent. So was the 2021. The last 2 years the first rounds haven't been loaded with talent like those two classes. But those two classes in back-to-back did have awesome first rounds. Where it's like if people said the only got 15 first-round players graded for those classes, then they were just flat-out dumb.
Andrew Thomas, the 4th best overall player from that class. Justin Jefferson, you can say, is better. Joe Herbert and Justin Herbert, you can say, are better. But is Andrew Thomas
Justin Herbert.
Joe and Justin Herbert. What did I say?
You said Joe Herbert.
Oh, look at that. Andrew Thomas, 4th best player of that, for at least of that first round. Incorrect or correct?
Correct, right? Like, you can argue Tristan Wirfs, but I'm excited to see Tristan Wirfs play left tackle this year, by the way.
Is that confirmed that he's going to move?
Yeah, he's moving to left tackle. So I'm
Good.
I'm just excited for that as a football fan.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I want Andrew Thomas to be better, and I think he will be.
Yeah, I also have biases too.
Yeah.
Let's get into these UDFAs, Justin. First, this episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and more. They also want to make sure you are getting a good deal. So when you're on the app, look for the green dots, baby. Follow the green dots. Green means good. Red means bad. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only place that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. I went to that Mets game last week. Use SeatGeek. I got on the jumbo scron. I flicked it off.
Nice.
We've got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Click the link in the description to download the app. You'll be glad you did.
Before we get into UDFAs, I'm on Twitter for a quick second, as you are. I love seeing baseball fans just tweet out constantly that is the worst loss of the season.
God, I could not do that with it. I would lose my mind having to do.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not saying that that's a dumb thing to tweet, or that's because it's true. Like, if you're a fan and you're watching a team every day and you feel like, man, that's the worst loss of the season. But I've definitely seen from both Yankee fans, and I just saw it from Jolly Olive. Yeah, that's got to be the worst loss of the season. Awful way to kick off the road trip. I feel like I've seen that tweet from both Yankees and Mets fans like 5 times this year.
Yeah. Good luck, Yankee
baseball fans. Could it be us? We just had a great draft class.
Just had the most excited draft class since 2020.
And we got a UDFA that was projected to go in the 4th and the 5th round. Let's talk about him.
Let's talk about it. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, wide receiver out of West Virginia. Let me read off some size and testing numbers. 6'4", 221 pounds with 33.5-inch arms. The man is big. Well, also, he ran a 4.38 40, a 41-inch vertical jump, Justin. This past year for West Virginia, he had 700 yards, 7 touchdowns, so not the best stats in the world. This is obviously, like, I am surprised he didn't get drafted, right? Like, this isn't being like, this guy's going to be a stud, but it's like you would think that this player would get drafted because
with the traits.
And he has some good tape, right? Now, there's some bad to his tape too, but like, he has that long speed, right, at 4.38. Now, he doesn't have the short area speed, right? Like, he had the 4th best 40 time for wide receivers in the combine, was 26 for the 10-yard split. So that's basically all long speed, which, again, that short area speed is a little more important, but for a guy his size to have that long speed is really good. And Justin, he knows how to use his body, right? He's not a 6'4" wide receiver who doesn't know how to use his body to his advantage. Like, he has a great vertical ability to go up and high point big catches. He is able to contort his body and make just tough acrobatic catches with his hands that are just really nuts, right? Like, they used him a lot in end zone phase, which I hate that. I hate that route. But again, he is a weapon to go and throw the ball on the outside, whether it's back shoulders. You know, if a team is playing single high over, you're like, hey, we're gonna test you. We're gonna make you cheat over that side and see if this guy can work here. Why he wasn't drafted though, Justin, is that short area speed is bad, right? He doesn't play like a 4.38 wide receiver. He had a better 40 time than Jalen Hyatt. That obviously does not show up on film. Route running to me is very lethargic and telegraphs routes, and I think the biggest issue from it comes is because of not having that short area speed, he's just not able to eat up cushion and influence DB. So with that, and not being super quick where he can sink his hips and just burst out of routes, you pair those and you're going to get a guy who is going to telegraph his inbreakers. So for me, I think what he needs to do to get to an NFL player is to just do more at the stem, right? Work to do more at the stem to create separation. But again, this guy is fun. He makes his highlight reel is fun. There's something to work for, and the Giants invested in him, right? They gave him a huge UDFA contract and basically guaranteed that he's going to be on the practice squad this season.
Yeah, per our friend Dan Duggan, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, the Giants hosted him on one of their top 30 pre-draft visits. We know how much the Giants really like those. And he's getting $236,000 guaranteed. That's a full season salary on the practice squad at $216,000 plus a $20,000 signing bonus there. So clearly, this is somebody that they want to maybe keep around. I don't think that you would give somebody a fully guaranteed practice squad salary for the purpose of cutting him at the end of camp. They want to get a better look at him. Bobby mentioned, you mentioned, I agree with you, a little bit lethargic, especially to start the route, but he does have that really, really good long speed, 9.96 relative athletic score. Obviously, the RAS score doesn't tell, the issues with some of the short speed stuff. Doesn't get much separation at the stem of the route, but for a guy that's a UDFA, like I love this. And especially now that the Giants have a wide receiver room with a lot of names, and none of the names may be great, but they have a lot of depth there. Bring on Bryce Ford-Wheaton and making some cool plays in camp. I kind of see a path to Bryce Ford-Wheaton being successful is being kind of used like Kenny Golladay was in 2021. Like mini posts and slants, kind of like an off coverage where maybe he can kind of tempo things a little bit and then get yards after the catch. If there's a way that he's going to be used maybe in the preseason along with contested catches, which I think is a lot easier to kind of replicate that in the preseason because coverages are kind of simpler. You're playing man coverage, just go up and get the football. That kind of role, I hope that maybe he'll be successful that way in training camp, and then maybe we'll see him be successful that way in the preseason.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, even though he doesn't have that short area speed, like you mentioned, he does have some yak plays. Like, they would throw him screens at West Virginia. He's not out there making guys miss a ton, but he can move pretty well. I have this question, though. Could there be a move to tight end for him? And that's why, like, they gave him this money we want to develop. Because right now, like, unless there's a lot of injuries, there's really no path to him to make the roster this year. And one, he blocks it on the perimeter well. Like, he brings it as a blocker. Like, he's got the intensity and the just good blocking reps out on the perimeter. And the Giants obviously claimed Lawrence Cager from the Jets, who was a wide receiver at Georgia before coming to the NFL. And Wheaton is an inch shorter and a pound heavier, right? So he's got a thicker build for that tight end spot that maybe we can see while the Giants have Darren Waller and Daniel Bellinger, that they could try and develop this guy into a tight end, because obviously he can be, if he can come up to be a solid move blocker, he could be more valuable in that role, where all of the short area stuff and, not great route running, I don't know if he's going to be a great wide receiver.
I'm doing something weird, and I'm judging him on his body type, and if he has the muscle mass to even add on to play tight end. And I'm looking at pictures of Lawrence Cager in college. I think he looks bigger and
He is
more muscular than Lawrence Cage when Lawrence Cager didn't. Even now, you can make an argument. I'm looking at a picture of Lawrence Cager now. Bryce Ford-Wheaton looks like beefier than him now.
Yeah, I mean, he's an inch shorter and a pound heavier. I mean, obviously, Cager might have added some weight since he came into the league, but at least coming into the league.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking at pictures of when Cager was at Georgia. Yeah, maybe. Sure. I mean, they clearly have a path for him as Bobby has a sneezing fit, and it's a shame I wasn't even looking at the screen, and I knew you were having a sneezing fit.
World will never see.
World will never see. Yeah, but I think that's a good point. It's it's honestly just a matter of, can you put your hand in the dirt and, can you survive blocking, right?
Yeah, like, can you turn into the quote-unquote, a term I hate, a willing blocker, right? Which is a term that I hate.
Well, it's a term used for it's a term used for tight ends that can't block. Can you at least try?
Yeah, and again, there is guys who they don't look like a willing blocker, like Zach Kuntz out of Old Dominion. He does not. You cannot type willing blocker on his scouting report just to make you, justify liking him a little more. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, you can see, like, he takes blocking seriously. He brings intensity to it, and again, he's good on the perimeter. That's a lot different than facing outside linebackers and stack linebackers.
I mean, here's how Bryce Ford-Wheaton can make the practice squad. I don't think
he will be on the practice squad. He's basically a guarantee.
But I mean, if he plays too well during preseason, right? Let's just say hypothetically they play him at wide receiver, he plays too well. A team could pick him up. That's what I'm worried about with Bryce Ford-Wheaton.
Yeah, that's my worry too. I have that worry as well.
Yeah, so if you line him up at tight end and you kind of hide him, I will say that you usually don't see undrafted guys get poached. What usually you see get poached is 5th and 6th round guys from a year or two ago who just there's not a spot for them. Those are the guys that get poached. Okay. Right? Like I'd actually it'd be good to look at like how many rookie undrafted guys were poached. Now, the Giants had one on their roster in David Sills. So the Giants poached him from the Bills. But I think they added him to the practice squad, not necessarily the active roster. But I can't remember exactly right now. That was 2021 that they did that?
2019.
David Sills? 2019?
Yeah. David Sills is the 5th longest tenured New York Giant, if you don't count being cut and released and stuff.
David Sills has been around since then. Oh, great. Okay, yeah. We'll see. But that is a fear. So
yeah, but I'm excited to just see at rookie camp. Like, do they even just like give him a couple of Y reps to see how it can hang at tight end? Like, how does the route tree fit him at tight end? And also, West Virginia didn't have good quarterback play. They didn't do a ton. Like, again, they were like screen fade with Bryce Ford-Wheaton. They didn't really like make him a huge part of the progression. That can explain some production stuff with some bad quarterback play, but. Yeah, I mean, this guy's exciting. Like, you can't not watch like this guy's highlight film and not be excited. But again, there's a reason he went undrafted, and we've went through those reasons. But maybe work to tight end could help, or maybe you can develop him as a wide receiver. Where, like I said, he's never going to be super quick in the short area, but what he can do is get better at the stem of the route to separate. Not going to be separating. Blazing guys, but just having some separation. Are you looking at the news? I was going to break it to you.
I just saw something on my phone.
Son of a gun. I was hoping to break it to you, but I didn't want to interrupt this Bryce Ford-Wheaton. Usually I would interrupt you right in the middle, but I did not want to interrupt this Bryce Ford-Wheaton talk.
All right, well, we're basically done with it.
The Giants have brought back Oshane Ximines. God, I wanted to break that to you so badly.
I saw Doug actually say breaking news. And then the
chat did it. The son of a bitch in chat.
No, I didn't believe it. And then I saw the Patreon chat say we're moving Oshane to CB. So then I'm like, okay, well, nothing's happening there. But then I finally looked at my phone and Julian popped up, and I'm like, why did he text us? And lo and behold, he sent us a graphic after he quit. Not paying him for it.
Maybe I'll send him like 50 cents on Venmo.
There you go. I have $1 in Venmo. Maybe I'll send him that. All right, Oshane Ximines back.
I mean, that's what happens when you have your third. We have no edge depth. You have Jihad Ward, and that's it, right?
And Ellison Smith, who doesn't exist.
And Timon Fox. Like, again, you don't have any real edge depth outside of Jihad Ward, and he gives you no pass rush value. So this is what happens when you come out of a draft. Again, the Giants only took 7 picks, so they were not going to fill every depth need they had. So linebacker and edge are the 2 positions they weren't able to address. This is going to happen, and I would expect to see some veteran linebackers at rookie camp, because you can have 5 veterans at rookie camp. Right. Maybe Deion Jones, who they brought in, a couple weeks ago for a visit.
Did we do an Oshane Ximines PPP last year? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
All right,
but Dave Gettleman's 2019 class. It's looking good.
Brought back. Wait, is that part of the tweet now? Giants that's signed to a second contract?
That feels so dirty to say that. I feel like there needs to be a minimum of like more than the 1-year vet minimum contract to clear that bar.
Okay.
But hey, it does count though. All right,
welcome back, Oshane Ximines.
Welcome back, Oshane. Hey, we got 2 Old Dominion guys on the roster now.
Oh, look at that. They can talk about that.
Next on this UDFA list is a quarterback out of Illinois, Tommy DeVito. Now, he transferred from Syracuse after losing his job to Garrett Schrader, but he improved a good amount, and he looked like a better quarterback at Illinois this past year. 6'1", 210 pounds, big hands, 10.5-inch hands, which I think are like 3rd biggest in the entire class.
Wow.
Numbers were not very good at Syracuse. This past year, completed 70% of his passes, 7.2 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So he benefited from playing in a better, more stable, pro-style, more conservative offense at Illinois, right? Where they didn't ask a ton out of him. Where I kind of hated that Syracuse offense watching. Because I actually went and watched the game where him and Schrader played versus Rutgers. And I didn't like what Syracuse was doing on offense. And they were just getting overwhelmed up front by Rutgers. Which is like, imagine that versus the other teams. Justin, you go watch his film and it's solid, right? Like, he operates the offense, good timing and accuracy within it. Like, he's got solid arm strength. And on the intermediate throws, he can really fire it in. Overall, just accurate, right? Like, especially when he's in a good clean pocket, he's going to be accurate. On the deep passes, he's got nice touch throw with really good accuracy. He throws good back shoulders. Will miss a little outside when he's pressured. Again, this is a guy who can come in the preseason, and if you have him protected up a little bit, he can run the offense. And again, this guy is the favorite to be the 3rd QB, not on the active roster, but in the practice squad. So if Daniel Jones will get hurt, Tyrod Taylor QB1, I keep wanting to say Danny DeVito, Tommy DeVito QB2, which I think is the path for him, because they're only going to run 3 QBs through camp. The only other path would be to go sign a free agent. Yeah,
I was pleasantly surprised with Tommy DeVito, and kind of just to put to give it a little bit of summary, I felt like I was watching Davis Webb operate the Giants offense in the preseason last year.
Absolutely.
Simple reads, running back swings out of the backfield, play action boots and rollouts, and he did it well. Davis Webb did it well, and I thought Tommy DeVito this past year at Illinois did it well. He has a relatively quick trigger. The ball comes out of his hands, not like lethargic, comes out of his hands nice. This past year, this is how I'm able to tell really the big difference between the offense that he ran at Syracuse and maybe some of the struggles that he had there, and then the success that he had at Illinois. Had 3 games this past year where Tommy DeVito's time to throw was above 2.7 seconds. That 2.7 mark, I think, is around average time to throw in the NFL. If you're throwing it around 2.6, 2.5 seconds, 2.4 seconds, that's a very kind of quick trigger offense. Get the ball in your hands, get the ball out of your hands. If you have the ball in your hands for longer than 2.7 seconds on average, that's an offense where maybe you're trying to extend plays, you're running around. There were 6 games in 2019 where Tommy DeVito held the ball in his hands for longer than 2.7 seconds. And also, I think he had more than double the scramble attempts in 2019 in Syracuse than he did this year at Illinois. I think it was around 43 scrambles in 2019. I think there was only 18 scrambles that he took at Illinois. That kind of tells me that the offense at Illinois It made more sense for Tommy DeVito. The average depth of target at Illinois was less than what it was at Syracuse. More of a half-field kind of read offense, singular read, and if you're, one or two reads aren't there, you're checking it down to the running back, you're checking it down to the tight end in the flats, and I thought Tommy DeVito did that well, and that's what Davis Webb did last preseason. DeVito did a great job keeping the offense on schedule and in rhythm. He is sneaky mobile, and he can extend plays if he needs to. He's no Daniel Jones back there.
He ran a 4.64 40.
But he can, kind of manipulate the pocket and extend plays and even, roll out on those, those play action boots, and he can throw the ball on the run a little bit. He's been known to take a hit, get back, and respond well, and he has solid arm strength when his feet are planted.
Yeah, when you talk about the pocket stuff, like he manipulates the pocket pretty damn well, and also like when he throws on the run, he darts it in there, right? And accurate, and that's why accuracy is the main thing I look at for, a quarterback who's not going to be a first round hype type of stuff, is because you watch college, and I'm talking about first round players too, right? And guys who are quote unquote really clean prospects. I'm not talking about like Anthony Richardson, Will Levis type guys. And it's like they have these ugly, ugly misses on film. And granted, I'm not watching every single game with Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito doesn't have these like in his game. Like there was not a throw of Tommy DeVito where I'm like, man, that was just an ugly miss. You had the time, you had the pocket. Now, when there is unavoidable pressure, his accuracy will be off, right? Not by a ton, but again, it will be off. And I think it starts with like footwork. Like he's got solid footwork, right? Yep. There's nothing sloppy about his footwork. The only time where his footwork isn't great and it's like is when they will do like one step drop or play action quick throws, is he won't point his feet and he'll he can throw with different arm angles and it'll just be slightly off, right? Like they were in the end zone versus, I can't remember who they were playing, where they ran this nice little like out, like this little veer route where it's like out and then sharp up into the end zone, and he fires it in there, different arm angle, and just doesn't point his feet, and he's off by like, half a foot, and the wide receiver's able to get his hands on it, but it could have been a nice cleaner catch and a touchdown for him. He also had a lot of drop issues in the games I was watching at Syracuse and at Illinois.
Yeah.
And again, I just didn't like that Syracuse offense. Like Garrett Schrader went in there, and I didn't go study Garrett Schrader for this, but I did watch a game where they both played against Rutgers, and I thought Tommy DeVito looked better, and Tommy DeVito's stats were better at Syracuse compared to Garrett Schrader, who was, a Mississippi State transfer who started from Mississippi State as a freshman. So, and like you said, he's tough as hell. Like he's not afraid to stand in and take a hit. So, again, I know this is going to sound like, oh, you guys are hyping up this UDFA, right? But we're kind of talking about him in the context of a third QB on a roster.
Yeah.
And I can see it with Tommy DeVito, where a lot of QBs in college, and I bet you a lot of the guys that got drafted, like Sean Clifford out of Penn State, we had Brock Purdy broke the NFL where 14 quarterbacks were drafted. 14. That's insane. The NFL was, again, Brock Purdy truly broke the brain of these NFL teams.
Yeah, with so many quarterbacks being drafted, I'm shocked that DeVito wasn't one of them.
Yeah, because like again, and I guess you could go back to the Syracuse film where it wasn't good, but hey, at Illinois in a pro style offense, he had like the things you look for, like in a third quarterback, like having good footwork, good enough arm talent, accuracy, and ability to move and improvise on the run. Now, again, he's not going to break off long runs for you. He's not going to be a read option quarterback, but again, he can move around the pocket and throw the ball accurately on the run, and that's where you really see some velocity on those throws. So, yeah. So I mean, it's hard to grade guys post draft when they're on your team, but I just put him as a D- as like a priority UDFA, which he ended up being for the Giants. But we all thought the Giants were going to draft a quarterback on day 3, which we very much didn't want.
You did?
I
did not. I did not think that.
I thought they would. I mean, they brought in Hendon Hooker. I think not having their 4th and that first 5th round pick stopped them from doing it, and all those quarterbacks going off the board. Yeah. Like if it was just a normal year for backup, quarterbacks being drafted, I bet you the Giants end up taking one on day 3. Like their Hendon Hooker interest was real, which is insane as it is. It was real.
It was real.
So I would much rather take a shot at a UD, especially when you have a high paid backup quarterback in Tyrod Taylor, who has one of the biggest backup quarterback hits in the league.
Yep.
I would much rather take a UDFA swing on Tommy DeVito, see how he does in preseason. If he stinks it up in preseason where it's so bad, like Clay Thorson a couple years ago, then you can go out and, look for the guy who's been a backup QB his whole life but hasn't made it on a roster this year type guy. And bring that guy in on the practice squad. So yeah, Tommy DeVito can do some nice things. Like, again, like the things you would look for in a third string quarterback. Being able to, like you said, keep the offense on schedule, good footwork, good overall accuracy. And he throws a good deep ball too. Like, he's not firing it in like 60 yards downfield. There was a play where he was rolling out and the guy broke open. It's like, if you really wanted to, you could probably fire that thing in there. But he throws it with good touch and good accuracy. So, yeah, and he's tough as hell. It's like kind of what you look for in your third quarterback, right? And again, remember, we're talking about a third quarterback. We think about how bad some starting quarterbacks are. We're talking about being the 65th best quarterback in the NFL at best here.
And I'm really excited to see him in preseason. Very excited.
Me too. Like, I think he plays with a little swag. By the way, your picture of him with the chain and him being just Italian, Don Bosco guy, might be our biggest tweet from all of the NFL draft process, because people are loving how Italian he is.
Yeah. He has the chain with the TD, his initials. Some people were saying, "Oh no, that's a chain
Touchdown
for
Tommy.
Touchdown Tommy." I'm like, "Nah, I'm pretty sure it's his initials." But
they do call him Touchdown Tommy.
He was in a tank top, and then it was the PFT guy retweeted it, right?
Yeah, there was a bunch of people though. Like Bert, it's harder to find out without the blue check marks, but Bert Breer retweeted it. A lot of people retweeted it.
I just pulled up an interview on YouTube, and I'm like, "Oh, this is a look," and I screenshotted it and we posted it.
People really think Italians are funny.
I do, yeah, I do.
Like, it's a big like Nicky Cass of our company. It's like his whole brain is just like, I'm Italian, and
he's funny. Snacks is just Italian, and he is funny. He's not his Irish brand though.
But it's like there's a couple people who actually reached out to us, like they're like comedians.
There's a guy that recently just followed us. He does videos from a garbage truck.
Nicky Scarlatta and Jojo Scarlatta. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I want to invite them to a tailgate.
It's just like, yeah, I want to do something with them, but it's just like people just love it. And you see that guy that has kind of like the weird face with no chin, where he eats the food and does the reviews. It's like people they just eat up like Italian reels. It's like, hey, look at him, he's Italian.
I went to see Sebastian. What's that guy's face? Mariscotto or something like that. I went to see him a couple months ago. Stand-up comedian. Touchdown
Tommy DeVito. Very excited to get hyped up over your preseason. Please don't let us down. Please don't do a Clayton Thorson to us where we are celebrating Brian Lewerke being signed after you got cut.
Yeah, don't make us sound like idiots, please.
Don't be again, protect this guy. Protect him. I just want you to read an ad and we'll talk about the Giants' other UDFA on offense.
Let's talk about the Giants' other UDFA on offense. But first, prioritize the rock in your life, the significant others in your life, like the Giants prioritized Bryce Ford-Wheaton. How do you like that? That's a good line.
Love it.
Give them $236,000. No, instead of doing that, you can give them Lightbox lab-grown diamonds. That's what you can do. Lightbox lab-grown diamonds. They do all the work for you. Lightbox makes lab-grown diamonds you'll love with pricing you'll understand. You won't need to spend $236,000 to get Bryce Ford-Wheaton on your team. From sparkly studs to brilliant necklaces, these gems will make their jaw drop. Whether it's for mom or your spouse, getting her a stunning stone from Lightbox lab-grown diamonds, it's a guaranteed win. Tommy DeVito. We were just talking about how Tommy DeVito has chains. I think Tommy DeVito should get something, maybe not for himself, but he should get his mother. You know, Italians say mother. That's how they say it right there. He should get something for his mother at Lightbox lab-grown diamonds. So this year, skip the socks. Instead, become MVP of Mother's Day with the gift she'll never forget. Use promo code TalkinGiants10 for 10% off your purchase. Shop Lightbox lab-grown diamonds and use code TalkinGiants10 for 10% off your purchase. You'll be glad you did, Tommy DeVito.
Hold on, I'm formulating my Oshane Ximines tweet.
I can't believe I can't believe
Why
it,
not?
I guess.
They don't have any edge depth. Again, we are at a 90-man roster right now. That's what we're working with.
Go get Marcus Golden. Where's he at?
Again, We are working with a 90. Giants have no edge depth and didn't draft anything. Didn't draft any. Hoping someone like Ellison or Fox can grow.
Oh, he's on the. Oh no,
spot.
Marcus Golden is a free agent.
But edge depth will be bad in 2023.
You could have signed Marcus Golden to the veteran minimum.
No, you couldn't, dude. Guys don't like Marcus Golden. They don't take veteran minimums. And why would Marcus Golden come back to the Giants?
So he could be reunited with me. All
right. The next UDFA on the list is ECU tight end Ryan Jones. 6'1", 240 pounds. Had 413 yards and 4 touchdowns this past year for ECU. 442 and 5 the year before. Oklahoma linebacker turned flex tight end at ECU. So he played linebacker at Oklahoma. Comes to ECU, they move him to tight end. He was split out most of the time, lined up in the slot. And they also took him off the field in running situations a lot of the time. With Ryan Jones, to find a place to make the practice squad or to eventually compete for a roster spot one day. And again, he's new to the position, so this can grow. I need to see urgency as a blocker, because right now as a blocker, you do not see urgency in his game. Like as a move blocker, he is like very hesitant getting to it. He doesn't use his hands. He doesn't roll his hips through. He doesn't keep his feet moving. In line, he actually can sustain a block halfway decent, but it's getting to that point that is a real struggle for him. And he's going to have and again, this is going to be a guy playing H-back. He will not be an inline tight end type guy. Like this is to play that H-back, which is essentially a fullback in the Brian Dable offense, because he doesn't have the speed to play what he did at ECU in the NFL. Like he's got below average speed, ran a 4.78 40. So he's not going to separate versus man. Like doesn't have like any change of direction that gets you excited about him. Now he can make some tough contested catches, boxing guys out, but again, that's at ECU. Now you're 6'1" in the NFL. I don't see him being put in those situations to even make those plays. But can uncover in short zone and find holes to sit in. So for Ryan Jones, like your objective before 53-man cutdown day is to come out firing as a blocker. Don't try and go and have the perfect technique, but just to bring some fire and roll into blocks and not be hesitant and almost like want to hug the defender.
Yeah, I definitely agree, especially with your projection of, hey, in camp, come out here and try and be the H-back. Come out here and try and be what Andre Miller was to the Giants in training camp last year. You know, that's a path for Ryan Jones to make the roster. And especially, you know, it tells me that just by kind of looking at the numbers and how he was used at East Carolina. This past year, 72.4% of his snaps were in the slot, 9% of them out wide, and only 12.2% spent in line. Now, the in-line snaps did go up in 2021. They were up 33.5%, but still, I mean, he was still having 50% of the snaps out in the slot in 2021. So it's not like he was used entirely and completely different in 2021 in comparison to his 2022. So I'm rooting for Ryan Jones. There's not a lot of guys on this roster that are trying to compete. Who are the guys on this roster trying to compete for that H-back?
Andre Miller and Chris Myrick.
And Jeremiah Hall no longer on the team.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremiah Hall was cut in camp last year.
There you go.
So they chose Andre Miller over Jeremiah Hall last year. And now, so like right now, I would pick Andre Miller over Ryan Jones. Like at least Andre Miller showed some urgency in his blocking. So I mean, that's if you're Ryan Jones, like that's got to be your mission. Like I gotta fire out. And again, I'm not expecting to be a perfect blocker, but again, they change positions, right? Like he's changed from linebacker to ECU, where they had him basically playing slot. So it's not like it's been his main objective of his career is to become a blocker. So like that's got to be his thing. But it doesn't bode well for him when they wanted to run, they would put other tight ends on the field, right? Sure. And they were only moving him either as a move blocker, which he wasn't great at, or on the backside in line. So it's going to be an uphill climb for Ryan Jones. But that again, just going to repeat it for the 5th time. Get urgency as a blocker. Because he's got the athleticism to play the H-back spot. I think that strength could be in there. Hasn't been but like he's going to sustain a block halfway well in the inline. So Like, just bring that fire out where it's like, I'm going to go out and smack you, you know. And I'm actually going to go look for some like linebacker plays on him to see what he played like there. But right now, my favorite for that spot would be Chris Myrick, Andre Miller, and then Ryan Jones.
I agree. You do love guys that change positions, though.
I used to. I'm not as much as in love as I was in 2019.
You're not a sucker for it anymore?
Yeah. All right, Thurston, that's it for our offensive UDFA. Defensive UDFA, I think now Tommy DeVito and Bryce Ford-Wheaton are the names that are going to pop out and get you to click. Defensive UDFA episode is going to be more important. I mean, one of those linebackers is going to start a game for the Giants. It's basically a guarantee at this point. Habakkuk Baldonado out of Pitt, it's a guy people like. So that episode is going to be more important. So this is how I hook you in to listen to the next episode, the defensive UDFA episode. Do you have anything else, Justin, before I close it out?
Take Oshane Ximines' job, UDFA from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, seriously, we could. I want to see someone. We know what Oshane Ximines is, so somebody unearth him from having a roster spot. All right, before we go, I do want to say this, though. The Giants head of PR, Pat Hanlon, his wife passed away over the weekend during the draft. So just, you know, for someone, we give him a hard time sometimes, but that's about as rough as it gets, you know, losing your best friend. So I just wanted to put that out there, Pat, if this makes it your way, that us and the Talking Giants fam behind you in a tough time. I don't know how to handle things like this, especially when we're talking publicly on it. But I didn't want to go through the show and not say anything, because as much as like we've shit talked Pat Hanlon quite a ton, but he's also been nice back to us at times.
He's been very nice to us. So yeah, definitely think of the Hanlon family, and you know, we got a Talking Giants community thinking of you too.
Yeah, it's like Giants football is family, right?
For sure.
For better or worse. So Pat Hanlon, we're thinking of you and all the family this week. So, all right, we appreciate you guys. We'll be back Monday with the defensive UDFA episode. You have to listen. You have to listen. So we'll see you then. Until then, we appreciate you guys. Let's go Big Blue.